Hello and welcome. Good morning. What do you think of my theme song? Thank you. What? Shut up. Shut up. What? What? What does that? Okay, sorry about that. I don't know what that was. Good morning and welcome. Hello. I apologize. That was the Dungeon Coach breaking in. We'll get to him in a second. Hi, Dungeon Coach. Yeah, computers. They hate me. It's morning. It's 8:47 in the morning. It's the 18th day of the morning. It's March in the morning. And I'm the OGGM coming to you live in the morning with all your tabletop role-playing game news, weather, and general internet nonsense. It's time to take out our compass, unfold our maps, and look at our sextant as we chart a course through the turbulent waters that is the tabletop role-playing game world. What news stories are going to affect us this week? What are we going to be arguing about? What are we going to be excited about? Is there anything going on that is actually important in this, the 50th anniversary of our wonderful hobby? Well, Daggerheart. Daggerheart's a thing. We could talk about Daggerheart, right? Let's talk about Daggerheart because we know it's a thing. The Daggerheart player survey and GM survey is up. If you want to take it, you can go to the link down below and answer your questions about what you thought of Daggerheart if you've had a chance to download it, blah, blah, blah. You enter your name and your email. And would you like to provide additional demographics? Well, I'm going to say no. What is my email? You guys know my email. It's this one. How many players were in your group? I don't know. Does Steve the cat counts? I'm going to say one. I've run one in-person session for Kyiv. Steve, what session was it? Well, I've only run one because the rules have only been out a couple days, so it's one. Please subsect options to describe your character. What community? Okay, so if you're familiar with the Daggerheart, we have the communities. Highborn. I was rich. Lowborn. I was poor. Ridgeborn. Orderborn. I came from a highly organized society, vaguely religious inspired. Ridgeborn. I was born in the mountains. Seaborn. I was born in the ocean. Slyborn. I was born in the criminal underworld. Underborn. I was born underground. Wanderborn. My family wandered around. They were nomads. And Wildborn. I was born in the wilds. Well, this and this, the exact same thing. And then you will notice that there's a few other backgrounds missing, right? Like Normalborn. Ancestry. Played a human. Primary class was fighter. Doesn't give us fighter for some reason, gives us guardian. So we're going to say guardian. I didn't sing, and we started as one, right? First level, community. I'm going to say we were orderborn because it's the closest to normal. I'm going to say we were human, and I'm going to say we were a guardian because that's the closest to fighter. Then it asks you which things it used. I didn't multi-class. Multi-classing at first level is dumb. What did I think of the blade? I used a whirlwind, and I used I am your shield. And then it'll ask us things like, the game was straightforward to play. Disagree. The ability and information on my cards were confusing and counterproductive. Agree. Combat found engaging and dynamic. Strongly disagree. I enjoyed my character's abilities. Neutral. So yeah, there you go. You can take the survey if you want. It's up. And you can tell them what you think about Daggerheart if you've had a chance to review it. And I think that's the only thing worth talking about this week, right? There's nothing else going on that was announced in the last couple of days that's worthy of discussion, is there? Sarcasm morning. Just going to give you guys a second to see if you sense the sarcasm in my comment there about there's nothing to talk about. Okay. Yeah, I guess we got to talk about this because this is the number one story and it's probably going to be the number one story affecting the tabletop role-playing game community going forward. We are already hearing from, well, the employees whose livelihoods are going to be affected that they are 100% against this. How dare you, Wizards of the Coast? Now, let's just pad the resume, so to speak, here, with the announcement that Wizards of the Coast is going to do something they said they weren't going to do. And the multiple realities. So in one reality, in 2020, at PulseCon, the then CEO of Wizards of the Coast came out and told us exactly what the plan for Wizards of the Coast / HASBRO / Dungeons and Dragons was from 2020 to through 2027. Why 2027? I don't know, but that's the date. It has something to do with 6th edition, because that's still on the calendar. June 2027, D&D 6X. Maybe that's the day that they've scheduled D&D to die. I don't know. And in that very long conversation, the CEO of Hasbro made it very clear that the plans for Dungeons and Dragons, Magic the Gathering, and pretty much many of their other products were to take them from the physical world into the virtual world and into the AI world. Eventually, the printing of physical magic and the physical Dungeons and Dragons and board games and other things were going to peter off and then possibly completely end sometime after 2027. Now, there's many reasons why Hasbro would do this, and it's not unusual. Several other companies are doing the exact same thing. We live in a digital virtual world. You and I, being old fucks, we might not use the computers as much, but our children and grandchildren will grow up with the internet as a part of their lives, much the same way oxygen and water is. We can't avoid that. So it is in the best business of every company to be aware of that and slowly transition from a physical, tangible world to a digital AI world. Fine. Okay, I accept that. Thankfully, I'll probably be dead by the time this happens completely, but your children will be able to understand this world. If it was any other company, we'd be fine. We'd be done with it. We'd be going, oh, okay, we see, yeah. But because it's Hasbro, because it's Wizards of the Coast, because they cannot seem to do even the simplest things, and because they have such a volatile fan base, and despite the number of times that they have repeated this, it came as quite a surprise when they actually started doing this. And of course, they've done it in the most backwards, self-destructive way possible. Tons of other companies are converting from physical to digital. You don't hear about them. Why? Because they're handling it the right way. On the other hand, not a day goes by when we don't talk about whether we're the digitalization of Dungeons and Dragons, because Wizards Hasbro does not seem to know how to handle this situation. Again, further proving my theory that there's multiple universes and that Hasbro Wizards has the memory of a goldfish. So, despite this being told, despite being retold, despite me saying this constantly, during the OGL crisis of 2023, one of the many things that came out was their plans to start using AI Dungeon Masters and to start converting the older product to digital to be able to be farmed by these AI. They were going to be using AI writers, AI artists, AI game designs. There was this weird draconian contract that was part of the new OGL about if I gave them a product and they purchased that product became theirs, even if they never used it. And I could never do anything with that product ever again. And if years later they decide to farm that product and take parts or all of it and regurgitate it through AI, I couldn't sue them then either. And I couldn't even say, hey, that was mine. Well, as we know how well the OGL debacle of 2023 was received by pretty much the entire industry. And of course, Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro backpedaled. They released all those condescending apologies. They sent out poor Kyle Brink to be their scapegoat. They had that stupid little conference in Seattle that they allowed Connie Chang to take over, where they were like, oh no, we're sorry. And one of the many things that came out of that was that their strict refusal to ever use AI. They weren't going to use AI. There wasn't going to be no AI Dungeon Master. They love physical Dungeon Masters. They weren't going to use AI chat to write product. And they definitely, absolutely, 100% were not going to use AI art. Any art they used would come from the loving blood, sweat, and tears of actual artists. Several days later, the very first accusation of them using AI art in a product came out. if you remember. It was Bigby's giant thing. At which point there was a bunch of kowtowing and apologizing, and basically we didn't notice the one piece of AI art. Whoever it was who we hired to look out for that, he wasn't there that day. Well, then we found out it wasn't one piece of AI art. It was 12 pieces of AI art. And they weren't discovered too conveniently after the product had been sold. At which point, once again, Hasbro Wizards came forward, apologized, did some song and dance, smoke and mirrors about how it got past the guy whose job it was to notice this. This was a mistake. We would never knowingly use AI art. And then they went and fixed it. This happened several times through 2023 and going into 2024, at least 3 that I can remember. There may have been more, where AI art was discovered in product. It was discovered in advertisements. It was discovered on Magic cards. It was discovered in D&D product that came out after Giants. Every now and then, just some bit of AI art was found, and Wizards of the Coast would again say, oh no, that was an accident. That was a mistake. I don't know how we missed it. That guy must not have been working today. Don't worry, he's gone. We would never, ever, ever use AI art. We would never, ever, ever replace real live DMs with AI. And we would never, ever, ever use AI to write our product or farm pre-existing product to create new product, to mine. And that was all fine and good. Most people on the I hate Wizards of the Coast side of the fence were, yeah, you're lying. The people in the middle were like, I don't care, I just want to play. And then the people on the pro Wizards of the Coast side of the fence, who was getting smaller and smaller, were like, no, I believe Wizards of the Coast. They would never do that. Everything Wizards of the Coast does is 100% perfect, wonderful, and all according to Gygax's plan. So that was everything regarding AI before March 15th. Was it March 15th? Yeah, it was March 15th. Now, if you don't know what March 15th is, amongst many other things, March 15th is the Ides of March. Beware the Ides of March. And the Ides of March, for those of you who are culturally inclined, of course, is heavily associated with William Shakespeare's Tragedy of Caesar, where a fortune teller tells Caesar in front of Brutus that something bad is going to happen to him on the 15th of March. The 15th of March, then, of course, being the day that Caesar was assassinated, and the last person to kill, the person who did the last blow, the stab in the back, was Brutus. Beware the Ides of March. Something bad will happen to you on the Ides of March. Ironically, on the Ides of March, Chris Cox, the CEO of Hasbro, came forward and told us how excited they were to be using AI. And that going forward, they were sure that AI would be the future of D&D art, D&D product, D&D writing, and there would definitely 100% be an AI dungeon master. They were very excited about this. And as for Magic the Gathering, it was always good. It's going to be becoming more and more AI. They'll be using AI art for future Magic the Gathering cards. They're gonna have digital AI Magic the Gathering, because apparently Chris Cox has completely forgotten that they already have a Magic the Gathering video game. Actually, I think they have 4 or 5 Magic the Gathering and Magic the Gathering related video games that use what we could say whatever it is. You can say it's AI. I mean, there's Magic the Gathering games that you can play solo against the computer. So then Chris is like, oh yeah, we're going to use that for Magic the Gathering too. And it's like, you already are. But yeah, he's very blatantly telling us that they're going to mine the past to create the future because they're incapable of coming up with original thoughts. And they're going to use AI to create art going forward. Now I know you're thinking, I know what you're thinking, Ironcaster. Didn't Wizards of the Coast just say they would never, ever, ever use AI art, and they would never, ever use an AI DM because they love their real world artists and they love real world dungeon masters? right? I mean, they said that. I remember them saying that. I could probably find the articles if I really wanted to do of them saying that. But now they're saying, apparently, no, they never said that. Because as we know, Wizards of the Coast reality is only within a 3-second bubble, because Wizards of the Coast is a goldfish. If it's not directly in front of them, they never said it. It never happened. So, Mar Hochman, why do we have issue with this? OGGM, you use AI art for your product because you can't draw. People use AI art. What's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with me or somebody else who can't draw using AI art every now and then, because I'm only making a couple pennies. I'm slowly converting to stock art anyways. I would gladly pay an artist if I could find one who could work reasonably, but whatever. I'm one guy and I don't employ anybody. Wizards of the Coast HASBRO is a huge multi-million-dollar corporation that employs dozens, if not hundreds of people whose jobs include coming up with art, coming up with content, making sure we haven't used previous content, going through stuff that people submitted and seeing whether it's worthy of their time or not, writing new adventures, writing new lore, writing new rules, writing new magic cards, writing new board games, coming up with new IPs for those board games. All these jobs are now going to be tossed to the side in favor of WaffleBot 9000 doing all the work. And this is after, of course, them saying we would never use this. So as of today, after the Ides of March, with the, Chris Crocs holding the bloody dagger, standing over the corpse of Dungeons and Dragons and Magic the Gathering as we know it, they plan wholeheartedly to use AI art, use chat AI programs to write the product, to mine, Chris, this is not my words, this is their words, mine everything that's been submitted to them in the past, both by you, third party, and stuff that they own through the Wizards of the Coast TSR mumbo jumbo. So going all the way back to day one, shit that they have their hands on, all the way up till today, shit that they have their hands on. They're just going to let the AI go through it and write new product. So all those people whose job it is to write stuff for 2025, 2026, 2027, they're probably out of a job. I don't need to employ you, Mackenzie. I've got a computer that does it, which is the only good thing about this, because maybe now they'll fire Mackenzie and Kyle. I don't need to employ you, Chuck, Susan, Ellery, Steve, Mar Hochman, to write adventures in 2025, 2026, and 2027, to write lore. I've got a computer can do that. And you, artist person, Mark the artist, Steve the artist, Susan the artist, Mackenzie the artist, William the artist, Mar Hochman the artist. I don't need you anymore. I've got AI to do that now. Oh, and the dungeon masters who work so fucking hard to make this game actually still playable on D&D Beyond, we don't need you anymore. Because AI can do it, and we know how hard it is to be a dungeon masters, and we know how little we at Wizards of the Coast appreciate you, and we know that we can do a job better, and we know that your players want agency, and they don't want to actually be hurt or killed or actually go through any context. Hashtag, if you really want to see the actual game that explores that thought, you should check out my game, where I resolve the whole problem of player agency and DMs not having any power and players always getting to hit and always winning. For $1, why pay Wizards of the Coast? I did it for you. So yeah, we're upset about that. And I'm sure there's some people who are going to say I don't see a problem with that. Oh, but you always said Wizards of the Coast was going to do this, OGGM. So why are you upset? Well, I'm upset at all the people who told me they never would do it, and all the people who threatened me and insulted me since 2020. And called me an idiot because I said they were going to do this and people said no. I'm upset at all the people who take what I say and they regurgitate it back to me as if it was their own idea. Oh yeah, Wizards of the Coast is going to do this in 2027. I'm the first person to say it. No, you weren't. I was the first person to say it. Me and Stephen Glicker. And of course I'm upset because Wizards of the Coast lied to you. Now, I always knew Wizards of the Coast was going to fuck us over. They told us they were going to fuck us over. But then they told us they weren't. So I'm not upset. I sold my stock. My one remaining stock is doing fine. And the only reason why I keep that one stock is so I can find secret news like shit like this. I'm upset for the artists. I'm upset for the writers. I'm upset for the players. I'm upset for the people who believed Wizards of the Coast when they said they weren't going to use AI art. The hundreds of people who are going to lose their jobs, their livelihoods between now and 2027. Those are the ones I'm upset about. There is nothing good about this. There's nothing about this that has to do with Gygax's dream or the legacy of D&D or Wizards of the Coast shepherding us until the final edition of Dungeons and Dragons and what 2024 D&D will be it. Well, no, it won't, because AI is going to be in there constantly changing it. So this isn't the final edition of D&D. Anybody who's saying it is, that's bullshit, because AI is going to be constantly changing your player's handbook. And if that's not enough, let's just add to that some more wood to the fire. Wizards of the Coast announcement that they're not releasing product in 2 different languages, Portuguese and Polish, because apparently Portuguese, one of the top 5 languages in the world, doesn't spend enough money on D&D and doesn't play enough D&D. And Poland and all the other places that speak Polish, well, they don't spend enough money on D&D. So we're not going to make product for those languages anymore. But don't worry, we're still inclusive and we're totally against discrimination. So that's the news. And of course, all the artists are going, hey, wait a minute. You said you weren't going to use it. And didn't Steven lose his job because of the AI art thing? And didn't Susan have to redo all the art in Bigby's because of the AI art that we somehow skipped? And now you're saying, oops, we meant to do that all along. And going forward, we're going to do it. So screw you, Steven. Screw you, Susan. Screw you, people. Screw you, artists. Thanks for the art you sent us that we're never going to use. But our AI can go through that art and make brand new pictures. And if you see something in that picture that resembles your art and want to sue us for it, too bad you can't. So fuck you, D&D players. Fuck you, D&D artists. Fuck you, Magic players. Fuck you, Magic artists. Fuck you, DMs. But don't worry, this is the D&D you want. This is the super final edition of D&D. No, it's not. And you're all going to be happy because there's no other games to play. Gee, OGGM, why are you upset? This is what you said was going to happen. I don't know. You're right. I shouldn't be upset. I should be happy. This is what I said was going to happen. It's happening. We should check my stock to see how well it's doing. It's probably doing pretty good right now. Or it's doing horrible. I don't know. I think the main problem is Wizards of the Coast told you guys that they weren't going to do it, especially the art people. And now they're doing it. So if I was an artist, I'd be upset. If I was a player of 5e, I'd be upset. If I was a Magic player, I'd be upset. I don't know. I'm sure there's somebody out there who thinks this is a good idea and find something positive out of it. Just one moment, please. Just checking this. Oh, what a shock. The stock is down. Yeah, I hate being right on this. I wish I wasn't right. I wish Wizards of the Coast wasn't trying to kill a game we loved and lying about a game we loved. I wish, I wish all the energy I've invested for the past 40 years of my life meant something. I wish the OGL bullshit of last year meant something. I would love to live in a world where the people who still want to play D&D the way it's meant to be played can, without this draconic overlord telling them what to do and how to do it, and that they can't do it, and putting all these labels on it and making you feel shitty for playing D&D or lying to you about D&D. Yeah, I mean, for the people who don't play D&D anymore like me, it's not going to affect my life. For the people who already have purchased the shit that they're ever going to use, it's not going to affect my life. I'm not in playing 5e. I doubt I'll ever play 5e again unless somebody invites me to play 5e. Hint, hint, somebody invite me to play. But there are people who will play it, and there are people who it matters. And that's why we did. I mean, that was part of the OGL thing of last year. It was so you could keep playing it the way it's supposed to be played and not have Wizards of the Coast constantly screwing you over. I suppose at this point I should remind you that there is a wonderful alternative to Dungeons & Dragons available to you. It's called Elves with Sticks, written by yours truly. It's available for $3.15 on Giant Slayer Game. Links down below. Fuck Wizards of the Coast. Why don't you play a D&D game the way it's meant to be played? A silly game about elves with sticks. Or if fantasy isn't your thing, perhaps you'd prefer the single best superhero role-playing game written this year, and that would be Wretched Vigilantes and the multiple books in the Wretched Vigilantes series, including Bad Guys Never Win, Bad Guys Always Lose, Heroes Never Win, Henchmen Sing the Blues, the latest Wretched Supermax, and coming soon, brand new campaign setting called Fresno, Nevada. Yeah, buy that. Hey, if somebody was going to run the Power Rangers, I would play Power Rangers. I would love to play the Power Rangers RPG. Somebody run it so I could play it. Who here doesn't love Power Rangers besides me? I mean, fuck yeah. It's morphin' time. Let's go. Let's form the OGGM Zord. Go, OGGM Zord. Mighty Morphin OGGM Rangers. Fuck Wizards of the Coast. Buy my merch. I will talk to y'all later. Have a great day. I don't know how to top this. I mean, I just don't know how to top this. I'm sure there's something else going on, but I just... Fuck you, Wizards of the Coast.